We all doing? So I got a substantial amount of stuff today. A local thrift shop had moved to a much larger spot, and they closed for a couple months beforehand and stockpiled donations. And today was their big grand opening. So I kind of make my own schedule at work, and I work in the area. So I just happened to be working next door to this place right about the time it was going to be opening. There were like 40 people in line to get into this joint. Very clearly resellers were involved. You know, it was like Highlander where I could like sense them, and I didn't know if I had to decapitate them and take their listings. You know, watching people pick through stuff. It was so crowded you couldn't even move in the place. But I did grab some stuff. I'm breaking it up into a few videos that are, kind of themed. What I do. So we got three things. We're doing some cars today. Three things that are cars related. We have Knight Rider for the NES. We have Vtechs. And then we have something really cool in here. So why don't we kick it off with the NES first. So I don't remember if I ever played this. And you grew up with the NES. There are a lot of games that no one played. They just made a lot of games in general of dubious quality at times. So Knight Rider. So something interesting I learned about NES. There's now fakes of these that are pretty convincing. So the label was super sharp. And I looked it up, and people are saying that fake ones are actually typically not sharp because they have to get the file for the label, and it ends up being kind of grainy. So the way you can tell, one of the ways, is that the caution sticker on the back of the cartridge will have two numbers physically stamped into it. And that's not to say that you couldn't do this if you're doing a fake. Also, if you're going to make a fake NES game, it probably wouldn't be this one. But I looked anyways. So I paid a little under $5 for this. It wasn't a great pickup, but it wasn't a bad pickup either. I am going to list it for 14, which is a little on the higher side as far as these selling. They tend to sell closer to 12, but it's also something, there's not a ton of them out there. So I think if it sits for a couple years, I can get that other $2. I might just reduce it down to 12 if I get sick of looking at it. But I've been selling a lot of games, and I haven't been picking them up lately. That might change this weekend because we're doing a town-wide yard sale, and I got cash, and we're going to see what happens. But for now, I just wanted to add a game that's car-themed to help with a theme for these shows. All right, let's move on to the Vtechs. All right, we got some Vtechs here. I've done these before. I pick these up anytime I can, provided the price is right. Today at that thrift shop, it was 3 for $1. So can't miss with that. Typically they go anywhere from 8 to 20. So I've never seen this one, which could mean it's either completely undesirable or very hard to find. All right, let's see. It's lighting up, it's not making a noise. I may have to throw some batteries in these. Fire truck, I think I have 1 or 2 of these. They go, but they're also pretty common. That guy ain't turning on. And then green race car. These go sometimes. I have a lot of race cars. So when the batteries are almost dead, it gets stuck in that kind of startup pattern. So chances are they'll work. But go and look at some pricing on these. Howie the Hot Rod works. Not a lot of them for sale, and the ones that are for sale aren't selling outside of some setups, three for 26. I typically just do them individually. Some of the hot rods do sell. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for this black one. This actually fetches pretty good prices. So I'm going to list them for 8. So this one's working too. Looking at my inventory, I actually have 3 of these now. So adding this one to the collection. So what that does though, is that I'm going to have 4. I could reduce the overall price I'm charging for these by $1 because I paid 30 cents for this one. So I can offset the cost, and I'm more likely to move the rest of them if the lot of them are all $8 rather than 9 is which I had. Had them at 9. They're more common, but they're also more desirable. Any toy that has to do with an occupation that a parent can have is very popular. Anything handyman, fire, police, excavation equipment, farm stuff. You know, every boy wants to be like his daddy, so they tend to gravitate towards toys that remind them of that. So as such, fire trucks go for a good price, but I can knock them all down by $1 just to get them out the door. Then we got this one working as well. So this is actually a variant, which I didn't know they did variants, but they do. So Riley the race car. Riley is typically black with green, but this one has a checkered front and it's all green and it's orange. So these are actually going for decent prices. So we got 10, got 14.
Let's continue the race.
I'm not going to be too crazy with it, but I am going to list it for 9. As I do have a few race cars, and they don't always go. You know, the occupational stuff is more popular. The trains on Vtech are the most popular, and they go for the most money. But moving in the right direction on profit, and now we got to bust out the really cool thing. This one was from not the thrift store I went to today, but I went to Goodwill again, as per usual. And I always check all the die casts. I don't buy Hot Wheels or Matchbox as a rule because they're too hard to sell. They weigh too much. There's too many out there. High supply, you know, middle demand, I'd say. But I was turning the bag over, just looking for something interesting. And sometimes stuff gets thrown in here that doesn't belong. And I saw these. Those don't belong in there. What are those? Those are micro machines. These are from when I was a kid. So they're micro. They're real micro if you've never seen these. And when you talk about supply and demand, the demand is extreme on these and the supply is okay, but how many of these got lost? You could lose this anywhere. It's so small. So, I mean, mine all disappeared as a kid. It looks like this says 86. I would flat out need a magnifying glass to be absolutely sure. So, we got 1. Out of here, we'll look at these while we're doing it. I don't care about Matchbox, but some people do. So actually, this one is a 1985, made in Macau. So I'm going to have to look that up. That might actually be worth something. Although the back window's sunk in. Hold on. Let me see if I can pop this thing up here. Huh. Something's up with that. Oh, the whole thing's a bit bent, I guess. Before I get too into it, I'll see if it's actually worth anything. But any toys that are made not in China tend to carry a bit more value. So, anyways, we'll look that up in a sec here. Hopefully these are all old. Might have come from the same place. No, that's 2018. Got a Rolls Royce, another 1985 Macau. Oh, things are getting interesting. That is a McDonald's 1988. Unlikely it's worth anything, but I'll look. Another McDonald's 94. McDonald's. Can't see the year. Unlikely it's worth anything. My kids will like that though. For them, they like wind up stuff. This is off-brand Johnny Lightning. I have no idea what that even is. That might not be anything. It's turtle wax. It might just be like something that literally came with turtle wax, but we'll check before we get too crazy. This just says made in China. It's plastic. '96. This is also plastic. So we got another micro machine. And, oh, there's 4. I only saw 3. So I paid too much for this bag. I paid $5. And these all sell. I looked, I think there were like 21,000 sold, which is a ludicrous amount of anything to be sold on eBay. So they're going to go. Got a 99, but that's nice. 4 definitely tipped it in my favor. Trash. You can actually tell the weight on the non-Matchbox, non-Hot Wheels, the fake die cast. They weigh... Actually, I'm kind of curious. So I got a scale. What do they weigh? The cheap ones weigh 0.5 versus... I think McDonald's one will weigh... I will weigh the 85. 1.4, so it's actually almost a third the weight. When you think about making these, you cut, you know, the material is the only cost besides labor, if there is any. I'm assuming at this point die casts are made entirely on a production line with minimal interaction with people. This one doesn't have a year on it. 1988 Indy car. That could be something, could be nothing. That's interesting. It's a car that flips over, but it's not branded. I have not a clue. Well, we'll check it out in a bit. All right, let's dig into the micro machines first, though. Well, this is super sad, but knowledge has power. So when I was in the store, I noticed they were very little. And I couldn't read what was on the bottom, but I flipped it over. I could definitely see a 19 something, some year. Like, okay, so they're not knockoffs. And manufacturer was Funrise. And I didn't know who made micro machines. So it turns out that when micro machines came out, that was Glabo. And other companies started launching very small cars because you can't exactly patent very little cars. So these are Funrise micros that came out in 1988. So I have 3 Dodge Daytonas and a Mercedes Benz. Now, these do not sell for as much. Although they don't sell for... It's not so far off the mark as to be utterly disgusting. So, we're going to look for Funrise Dodge Daytona. We'll see what they're selling for, if anything. Well, no exact matches. That's not good. Now, people list micro machines as fun rises as well. So it makes it difficult because this is very clearly the orange variant of this guy with the same year. This person listed as a micro machine. It is not. So you gotta get people to look these up is the problem. And you can't list it as a micro machine because that opens you up for the only thing that eBay will absolutely force a return on. I don't take returns, but if I lie in a listing, I have to. So even though it makes it more difficult to find these, I'm not going to say it's a micro machine. I will put micro in the name because that's what they were sold as. Funrise Micro. We'll do 1988 and see what that pulls up. So we're still getting stuff called Micro Machine. So Micro Machine's Funrise. It's not the same thing. You really shouldn't list it that way. That isn't quite what I have. See, I had all these when I was a kid. The tanks, I remember these. I loved Micro Machines. I had all the little not bases. They had like parking garages and little toys. I had quite a few of them. But I liked the tanks. Those were cool. Helicopters. Fun stuff. Not a car guy, but I just liked them for some reason. Mad popular when I was in the first grade. I had this base and I've sold this base actually. Weirdly, I ran into two of them at the same time at the same store. And I thought I had put it down or something. I looked over and there was another 1988 Micro Machines aircraft carrier. And I was like, wait, what? And I had one tucked under my arm. I bought them both. I sold them both. I think I got $16 each. But yeah, so it's going to be hard to list and hard to price. I am going to do... So this guy's got a lot of 5 for 20. And this is tough because Globo or Glob and Funrise are not the same company. What are these? If there's not a picture of the bottom, which there is... These don't even look branded. This is odd. This one actually kind of does. Same kind of undercarriage. Huh. I took a picture of the bottom to show that mine were actually Funrise. Huh, interesting. So, for the 4, I'm not going to part it out because they'll never move, I don't think. I have the best luck of selling something as a lot. And I think I'm going to do $10. I think 10's pretty reasonable. And they might not move. Alright, then we got those mystery ones, so we're going to pull those up and dig into that and see if we can get this number to be a bit closer to the 3 times ROI I like to hit. So went through these. Pretty fun. We'll start with worst to best. This is an RTO Flips. It's not a Hot Wheels, not a Matchbox, but it's a brand of car that flips over. No real value. They're out there, but they're not popular. This is a Ford Cabriolet 1985 Matchbox. It does sell. The red one is not the most popular. The white one's the most popular. However, it is really banged up. The back window's down. You can see the frame is bent right here. So I'm just going to put that into a lot when I do those. The white 1985 Matchbox Rolls-Royce actually sells individually pretty well. Average price is like $10. Mine is kind of beat up. Even the beat up ones go, so I'm going to list that by itself for $8. And then this is a 1988 Indy car. Not a lot of them out there, and they do sell. In this color scheme, only one listed and one sold. The one listed is there at $12. The one that sold was for $17. So you have to assume that there's only one at the time that person bought it. So I'm going to list mine for $10. So with that said, we almost hit 3 times ROI. And I do still have the other cars I threw in with the Matchbox. I don't count those though. They'll sell when they sell, but I'm not going to list them for a long time. I wait until I sell a pack and then I do another pack, because otherwise I get inundated with them. So not a bad day, and I got more stuff that we're going to do in other videos. So we'll see what we come up with tomorrow. I might do a Lego video. Or I might do I got a big bag of toys with some interesting stuff in it. So we'll see if I find anything on the road tomorrow. And then we got the big townwide yard sale Saturday, so could be a good weekend. Like and subscribe if you like reseller and toy content. And I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.